Hi, this is John again, the owner and developer of VectorDecks. What we're going to discuss here is VectorDecks steps, step specification, lattice option. I decided just to have a set of steps in this drawing, no deck or beams or anything. That way you'll see the changes involved when you select on different options. To access those options, let's go ahead and click on the steps. And in its object info palette, you'll see that step specifications. Go ahead and click on that button. And now here you'll see that lattice option. Its selection will bring up this window showing a basic top plan view of the steps that are in your document. We just have a set of steps that are just straight, no landings involved. Now you'll also see at the bottom here, you have an option to set the text size. Some large steps will present the text in this particular view too small, so you can increase that text size to make it more legible. You'll also see the Use Sundeck Info box is checked. As I mentioned in the other tutorials, any of the VectorDecks objects that you add to your Sundeck will by default have that Use Sundeck Info checked. But in this particular document, that's all we have is a set of steps. So let's go ahead and uncheck that. You'll now notice that Draw Lattice is enabled. Previously, I'll check that again, you'll see it's shaded out. It's not enabled. You'll have no access to it. And here with that turned on or checked, it's looking back at the drawing and it's trying to find a VectorDecks frame and seeing if that frame has its Draw Lattice turned on, then it'll be turned on by default. If not, it'll be turned off like this. But let's go ahead and turn that Use Sundeck Info off again. Now click on Draw Lattice. You'll see these red lines appear in this view. That's telling you where on the step profile the lattice will skirt down to. And up on these two corners, the left and the right, is what I call L trim, and it's how the trim appears at this portion of the step where it butts up against the Sundeck, and the Sundeck generally will have lattice, so you need to trim out that inside corner. Now you have an option to turn the L shape off by removing that one piece of trim if this butts up against the front edge of the Sundeck. The same is true with that right side, so you have control over if it's going to be an inside 90 or if it's going to be a flat type of connection. In this box you'll see selections where it says what gets lattice. Now if there was a landing instead of a straight set of steps here, you would have a top step, bottom step, and landing. I'll show you those examples a little later, but let's go ahead and apply this to the document and see what it looks like. And click OK. Now the step is now drawn with the lattice, and it's trimmed out on these corners, has that L-shaped trim, so if this was pushed up or butt up against any lattice that's on the Sundeck, then it would cover that inside corner. Now let me rotate this around just to show you how it draws it completely around it. It trims it out. It butts up against the bottom of the trim of your step. Now let me get back to that right perspective view. Now go ahead and click on that again, and we'll make some other changes I'll show you. Click on the step specifications and then the lattice. Now let's go and change that step type. Go ahead and click on step type. Let's make this a step to landing, and let's leave it at square. And when you go back to your lattice, you'll now see that the lattice itself covers the entire step area, all the steps and the landing itself. Let's apply this and show how it looks like in the document. There, you see how it'll cover the entire step area, both the inside portion over here, the outside portion. But we can control what portions get what in that same menu. Let's go back there. Select the steps. Go back to its step specs. Go ahead and click on Lattice again. And now we can go ahead and control what segments are going to get lattice. Like we could turn off that top, and let's also turn off that bottom. If you notice too, when we did this, VectorDecks knows that you're going to be able to look under the steps at these particular portions, so you want to conceal the entire landing in that area. Let's go ahead and apply this and see what this looks like. Now you see just that landing gets lattice, and it's going to get lattice completely around it, the back and underneath, pretty much everywhere that particular selection showed it, those red lines. Now regardless of what type of step type you have, it's going to behave the same. I'll show you here. We'll make this a rectangular, but this will be that U shape. I'm going to click OK, let it redraw, and you'll see again, because I told it, let me get to that right isometric view, I told it not to draw lattice on the steps, just the landing, and that's exactly what it did. See, it's underneath here. And then that last step type, let's try that kite. Go ahead and select it. And then in your step types, let's click on that kite landing. It's a little more complicated. Hey, let's throw in a flare here too. Now, it'll redraw completely around the kite itself. Let's rotate this so it could be seen. There we go. Now, if I wanted the lattice to also appear on this particular step, a kite and flare type of combination is fairly complicated. VectorDecks does it very simple. Let me go back and try that. Let's go back to this lattice. Let's apply it to everything here, the top and the bottom. You see how it extended along those flares? Let's see what it looks like here in the document. Now there, you see how it'll cover that step, and it even covers that little inside portion. It covers everything it's supposed to if you were physically trimming it out yourself. And it's all with just simple clicks. Now this particular style lattice, which is this diamond look, was selected in VectorDecks frame. The step will only pick up the type of lattice that you have selected in your VectorDecks frame lattice option. So if this was a square in the frame, it would be square on the steps. You're not going to have a set of steps without your deck. So it picks up the style and the class and the colors that you've selected in your VectorDecks frame. But you do have this edit capability of applying it where you want to, going through the VectorDecks step lattice option.